This is the Midwest, and I'm going to show you where you can retire or just live a more affordable life in this region of the United States. What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to World According to Briggs and a video about towns in the United States where you could retire on $1,658 a month. We did this video a few years back and had the price at $1,500 because that was the average Social Security payment, and it was close to about half the average military retirement. Things have changed. Prices have gone up across the board. Real estate, insurance, even scrapbooking cruises have jumped 20%. And yes, there are scrapbook-themed cruises. And I read a blog where some guy was describing how his mom had just lost it because they raised the prices of these cruises. She went on one during the pandemic and it was half price. Now they're back up to full price. The world has gone crazy. Today we're looking at the Midwest states: Iowa, Kansas, Nebraska, Ohio, Missouri, Illinois, and Indiana. This $1,658 on this video is what it would cost the average person to live comfortably. In this case, comfortably means you never have to worry about food, eviction, or your utilities getting shut off. The stats in this video are just the average. There are 1,000,001 scenarios like poor health, divorce, dependence that change a person's financial situation. This is just the basics for the average Joe. All right, let's see where you could live for under $1,658 a month. Number 10, Concordia, Kansas. Concordia sits about 2 hours northwest of Topeka, Kansas, and it is kind of out in the middle of nowhere. It is really close to the Republican River, and if you know anything about this part of the country, they like the name of that river. Kansas is a great state for a quiet life and a nice retirement. If you like just relaxing and letting time go by and doing your hobbies, this is a perfect city for that, or town, I should say. They got just over 5,000 residents. One thing I notice is their downtown doesn't have a whole bunch of boarded up shops on their main street. That's a theme in the Midwest these days, but they look like they're holding it together pretty good. I mean, there are some, not a ton. I've seen some towns where it's like 3 out of 4 shops on a main street are boarded up. The crime in Concordia is 8% lower than the national average, which is solid. They say the median listing price here is about $72,000. There's homes right now that look decent, like I've said before. I'm not in inspecting the plumbing or anything like that. I'm just looking from Zillow that are under $60,000 right now that look livable. Like, go in there, they look like they've been painted, taken care of, move your stuff in. Newer, nicer homes might set you back $150,000, $180,000. That's it. The cost of living here is 25% lower than the national average. Concordia has a quality of life score of 80, and your estimated average monthly expenditure would be $1,389. Number 9, Tipton, Indiana. The big bustling city of Tipton isn't. It's just a little small town out in the middle of the prairie. Tipton sits about an hour north of Indianapolis, and they don't have a lot of homes for sale right now, but when they do, they're pretty cheap. Tipton's a quiet little town of about 5,200 residents, and just this last census, they actually gained 3%. That's only the second time they've gained population in the last 70 years. So it's becoming a migration hotspot. Tipton's a very safe place to live. Their crime rate is 64% lower than the national average. Homes are 55% lower. The median home listing price is $83,000. That's not bad. But like I said, right now they don't have a lot of homes for sale, but some do pop up for about $100,000. But more than likely, if you want something decent, it's going to be $150,000 to $220,000. I love little towns like this. They got a lot of old brick buildings, you know, that are been there since the 1800s probably. Nice looking little town. The cost of living in Tipton is 26% lower than the national average. That is outstanding. And the estimated average monthly expenditure would be $1,385. That's a pretty low price for a place that still has a quality of life score of 82. If this is the first time you've watched this, a quality of life score, if it's below 60, 59, 58 on down, the place sucks. When you start getting into the mid 60s to mid 70s, it's a decent place to live. When you get over 80, you're living in a nice place. And they got an 82. Number 8, Tell City, Indiana. Tell City sits on the banks of the Ohio River right between Louisville, Kentucky, and Evansville, Indiana. A little over 7,000 people call Tell City home, and it looks like a nice place to live. You drive down the streets here, you find houses with flagpoles and the American flag. Looks like they put it up every morning. All the lawns are maintained. You don't have a bunch of houses that have boarded up windows. It's a nice place to live. Their crime rate is 24% lower than the national average. The real estate here is about 51% lower than the national average. The median listing home here is about $90,000. Realistically, you're looking at about $120,000 to $250,000 to get something decent. Tell City has a quality of life score of 85, and your estimated average monthly expenditure is $1,433. Number 7, Nixa, Missouri. Nixa is sort of in the Springfield metro area. It's actually about 12 miles south of Springfield. And this isn't really a small town. They got about 22,000 residents, and it's had a little growth spurt in recent years. Probably because it's a great place to live. They got a crime rate that's 58% lower than the national average. And right now, their home prices are about 27% lower. The median home listing price is $133,000. That is not bad. Realistically, though, homes are going to start around $200,000 and go on up to $250,000, actually beyond. But $200,000, $250,000 is what you're probably looking at to get a decent home. The reason it's so low for their median, they have a lot of lots for sale. You know, they've got planned communities. You buy the lot, that's like $50,000 to $60,000, $70,000, and then you have a house built on it. So that kind of lowers their median price. This is also the home of Jason Bourne. This is where he was born and raised. Sure, he's a fictional character, but in the books and in the movie, he's from Nixa, Missouri. They've even got a street sign that says home of Jason Bourne. The cost of living here is 13% lower than the national average, and your estimated average monthly expenditure is $1,478. That's not bad for a place that's got a quality of life score of 87. Number 6, Holdridge, Nebraska. Holdridge is a farming town about 3 hours west of Omaha, Nebraska, about 5 hours east of Denver, Colorado. It is out in the middle of nowhere. I mean, farmland as far as the eye can see. And it is a great place to raise a family. That is the strong point of this area. That's what I like about Kansas and Nebraska. You actually have to go out of your way to find a crappy place to raise a family. Just about any other state, you're trying to navigate where is there a good place to raise a family. Not them. It's like the exact opposite. Holdridge isn't a big town. It's only got about 5,500 residents, but there's like no crime here. The crime rate is actually 53% lower than the national average. The only negatives about Holdridge is they don't have a bunch of jobs, so if you're bringing your own job, great, or you're retired, even better, and they don't have a ton of things to do. It's not like they've got amusement parks or anything like that. It's just a nice place to live. The average home price here is 43% lower than the national average, and the median listing price is $105,000. Realistically, though, you could buy a house here for close to $150,000, $160,000. They've got plenty of lots too that are going for like $40,000 if you want to build your own house on it. The cost of living in Holdridge is 16% lower than the national average. Your estimated average monthly expenditure would be $1,454. That is not bad for a place that's got a quality of life score of 86. Number 5, Columbia, Illinois. Columbia, Illinois sits just off the Mississippi River south of East St. Louis, which it already sounds like the place sucks because it's south of East St. Louis, but it really doesn't. East St. Louis is a nightmare. I mean, it's crime infested. You know, what's the old saying, crime infested hellhole? That's what's going on in East St. Louis. But in Columbia, it's a different story. They're only like 25 minutes south of East St. Louis, and they've got a really good crime rate. It's actually 68% lower than the national average. So they got about 10,000 residents living the good life. It's nice, safe, it's a good life. Well, maybe not for this dude. He looks like he's walking with a rash, but everyone else seems to be walking around just fine. Now, this is a good place to live, and the home prices are a little bit higher than I'd like to see on here, but everything else is pretty cheap. Home prices here are about 2% higher than the national average, which their median listing price is about $197,000. You can sometimes find homes here for under $200,000, but really you want to be looking to spend around $300,000 at least, on up to about $400,000 if you want to live here. Now, they might have some homes coming up that may be cheaper because they've got a lot of areas where they're opening up to planned communities here. So that could be good. They have a lot of lots for sale in Columbia, Illinois. The cost of living here is 4% lower than the national average, giving your estimated average monthly expenditure $1,620. So it barely made it in. Their quality of life score is 89, so it might be worth the price. Number 4, Marietta, Ohio. Marietta is a beautiful Ohio River town that sits on the tip of Appalachia, and it's seen better days. This is coal country, so as you can imagine, their economy's tanked several times, and then it'll come back, and then it'll tank again, and that's what's been going on here for probably the last 50 years. But it sits right across the river from West Virginia, and if you know anything about this part of the country, you know the people are resilient, and they stick with their town, and they kind of build stronger communities because of the ups and downs. towns. Marietta is an old town, and they have beautiful architecture here. It's just that part of the country where you got those beautiful old brick buildings, churches that are just, they don't build them like that anymore. I know a lot of people from this part of the country, and I always just hope for the best for this area. I don't know why, it's just this thing I have for them. The population of Marietta has been shrinking since the 1980 census. Actually, in the 1970 census, they only gained 0.1%, so they've been on a downward slide for some time now. The good news about that is, if you could bring a job to this area, or you're retired and you don't mind the cold because it gets pretty cold here, you could live pretty cheap. A little over 13,000 people called Marietta home right now. And for a place that, you know, has its ups and downs with its economy, their crime rate's pretty low. That's normally not a thing. If your economy sucks and people don't have jobs, the crime rate's always through the roof. In Marietta, it's 43% lower than the national average. Their real estate is 47% lower than the national average, and their median home listing price is $99,000. Realistically, though, if you want to get a place here, something decent that's livable is about $150,000. If you get near the $250,000 to $300,000, you're living in a nice place. The cost of living in Marietta is 16% lower than the national average, meaning your estimated average monthly expenditure would be $1,466. That is not bad for a place that's got a quality of life score of 89. Number 3, Denison, Iowa. If you pulled out a map and thought to yourself, you know what, I want to live as far away as I can from any good-sized cities, where do I go? You would end up in Denison, Iowa. They're an hour from Omaha, Nebraska, an hour and a half from Sioux City, Iowa, and 2 hours from Des Moines, Iowa. They do have a Walmart Supercenter, and really that's all you need in this part of the country. And their hours are 6 a.m. to 11 p.m., so if you want to do any 1 a.m. shopping, you're out of luck here. But if you have a phobia of being eaten by a shark, this is probably the best place to live in the United States. It's like dead center almost. Denison has a population of about 8,300 residents, and their crime rate is next to nothing. It's actually 66% lower than the national average, which is phenomenal. Their home prices are 50% lower than the national average, and their median home listing price is about $95,000. Now, realistically, it's closer to $200,000 because this is one of those places that have a lot of lots for sale, and they drive down that median home listing price. The cost of living in Denison is 20% lower than the national average. All their stats are great for this place. Schools are good, people are decent, they got things to do. If you don't work in farms, you might want to bring a job with you. That's their only knock. But this is kind of geared towards retirement, and you don't really need a job if you're retired properly. The estimated average monthly expenditure in Denison, Iowa is $1,415. Not bad for a place that's got a quality of life score of 90. Number 2, Atlantic, Iowa. Staying in Iowa, we have the great city of Atlantic. I don't know if it's a great city. It's a decent city to live. Got the name Atlantic out in the middle of the prairie. Nobody can really agree on how they got the name Atlantic, but I think they're trying to scare away all those people that are afraid of sharks. Local legends say that the founding fathers estimated that the town was about halfway between the Pacific Ocean and the Atlantic Ocean, so they just flipped a coin and Atlantic won. Atlantic has about 7,000 residents, and every single one of their stats, but employment is phenomenal. I mean, employment's not terrible, but everything else is like graded A, A+. You know, the exact opposite of Atlantic City, New Jersey. Atlantic, Iowa, you could find right between Des Moines, Iowa and Omaha, Nebraska. And like so many other places in this part of the country, it is a phenomenal place to raise a family or just be retired and relax. Just like Denison, they got a Walmart Supercenter, so you know, will never run out of ho-hos. And they got a pretty good sized medical center called Atlantic Medical Center. So if you're retired, you won't be going without medical care. So it's actually two things. There's Atlantic Medical Center, and in kind of the same little complex, Cass County Memorial Hospital's right there too. So if you're there for a colonoscopy, after you're done, you can just walk across the field to Super Bowl Sports Bar and Grill, do some bowling. If your colonoscopy doesn't go well, you just pass by the Super Bowl, and right across the street's the Atlantic Cemetery. You don't have to worry about getting killed by anything else here because their crime rate is 25% lower than the national average. Let's say you do survive all that stuff, you can get a home here. Home prices are 50% lower than the national average. The median home listing price is $92,000. They have homes here for about $105,000. You want to get something nice, you're looking at $200,000. That's it. The cost of living here is 16% lower than the national average, and your estimated monthly expenditure would be $1,470. That's the average. Not bad for a place that's got a 90 quality of life score. All right, before we get to number 1, don't forget we have another channel called On This Day. I am trying so hard to build that channel up, and I would really appreciate it if you went over there and subscribe. All right, on to number 1. And number 1, New Philadelphia, Ohio. New Philadelphia was started because Old Philadelphia sucks. No, actually, Old Philadelphia is horrible in some places. Woo! I saw some videos of, I guess they're homeless camps where all the people that are, strung out on whatever are living. That was some scary stuff. I've seen some scary homeless stuff here in Portland, Oregon. What's going on in Philadelphia was alarming. New Philadelphia is south of Canton and Akron, Ohio, and it is west of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. They're one of the only towns I've seen on these lists that has continually grown in population. In the 90s, they did lose some population, but most of their census since 1880, they've grown in population almost in double digits. They've had three census where they lost some people, and all of them were like 3%. When you got a town in this part of the country that people aren't flooding out of, that's kind of tells you it's a good place to live. And 17,000 people are living the good life in New Philadelphia. Their crime rate is 73% lower than the national average. Their home prices are 42% lower than the national average, and their median home listing price is about $107,000. Realistically, you're looking around $200,000. The cost of living in New Philadelphia is 11% lower than the national average, giving you an average monthly expenditure of about $1,522. All that, and they have a quality of life score of 90. All right, that's today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you got some information out of it. Now go out, have a great day, be nice to each other.